Insights is an effort from members and supporters of the VenusProject.com resource-based economy and is not an official spokesperson, representative, or act in any official capacity and serves only to encourage, support, and motivate other TVP activists.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Activism Insights, the show that's dedicated to supporters and activists of the VenusProject.com resource-based economy. This is dedicated solely and exclusively to those that are out in the field, working very hard every day to help spread awareness and the invite to join and participate in our global movement. Thanks everybody for joining. Got a fantastic guest. You know, a lot of times I say I got a fantastic guest today or tonight. And, you know, I don't know what time it is when you're watching this. So what I will say is we've got just a wonderful, I'm very fortunate to be able to have a VenusProject.com resource-based economy activist who's been with us and has been working very hard in her part of the world and their group there. And so I'd like to introduce her. Her name is Deborah. And Deborah, you know, I've always just known you as Deborah. And why? So preliminary questions that we always do are, you know, who you are, what part of the world you currently reside in, and then how you learned about Jock and Roxanne, the VenusProject.com's resource-based economy. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. As you said, my name is Deborah, but you can call me Debs. Most people call me Debs or Deb. I am a POC in Brazil, and I am one of the global admins for the support team as well. And right now I live in Brazil again, in São Paulo, which is a big city, big traffic and everything.
Mm-hmm. How did you learn of the VenusProject.com? We know that if we can find out where people learn about it, we'll want to put more efforts into those types of venues or, you know, vehicles that help bring in new members. How did you learn of Jock and Roxanne?
I think my story is very similar to most people's story. I first learned about TVP watching the Zeitgeist.
Yeah, okay.
And then I thought the idea was, oh, okay, here is something. A couple of years later, when I was writing a dissertation for my master's course, I wrote about economy in the future.
Wow.
And TVP was part of my dissertation. And then I got to learn a little deeper about it. And when the dissertation was done, I contacted the admins and I wanted to become a volunteer.
Out of sight, far out. So a dissertation, can we talk a little bit, you know, we're going to get into some of the work that you do, that you've been doing, that you've helped establish in marketing and the efforts that a lot of people just are not aware of yet. But maybe can we talk a little bit about your background, about you live in Brazil, São Paulo, which is a very exquisite city, right? There's it had a lot of culture in it. That's where I think a lot of it extends from. São Paulo was a primary. In fact, in California, as the conquistadors came over, there's all kinds. There's a San Pablo. I walked through it. I did a peace walk through San Pablo. And so there, can we talk a little bit about your education? Because I am really fascinated and quite awe of the accomplishments that you've made in your education and how many years you must have put into it.
Well, thank you. Well, I pretty much started getting interested in social work because I grew up in a poor area in São Paulo.
Okay.
And it is that kind of area where very few things arrive there. It's usually drugs, police, and the church. you know?
Yeah.
And then social work in this kind of areas. And my mother is a teacher in one of these areas up to these days. She's about to retire, but 20 years ago, she was one of the ones who got me involved in social work because of all the local needs. And then I, from a very early age, 14, 15 years old, I was involved with social work. Later, when I went to college, I studied social communications. And then after that, when I graduated, it was a hard time here in Brazil. It was a hard time pretty much like nowadays, actually.
Yeah.
It was a time when it was really hard to get a job, and I had my diploma and no job and no perspective at all. I ended up going to the States. I became an au pair. I lived in the States for a few years. And
The
then
United States?
Yes, the United States.
Oh, so you left your country and came into the United States, and you must have been, you're still very young and you had never been here before. That must have been very challenging.
It was, but I had a very good support. I was an au pair. I was in this exchange program. I lived with a wonderful family in New Jersey. And then later I lived in New York as well, in Williamsburg.
Wow.
But I had all the support. It was challenging, of course, but I wasn't alone. I didn't have to do anything by myself.
Well, those that don't know what an au pair is, describe to us. It's a type of housekeeper, but more personal for raising children. What is an au pair, for those that don't know?
Well, in the exchange program, you are like a nanny, but you live with the host family, as it is called. And then it involves housekeeping, it involves cooking and taking care of children. Yeah. It really depends on what you agree with the family before you guys decide, okay, I'm going, I remember when I joined the exchange program, I had a different families contacting me and asking me about many things, and I would ask them about what was important to me, and we didn't really get a match, I'm glad I went to live with the family I did because it was a perfect match. I had a great support while I was there.
Good.
And then after living in the States, I went to Ireland to study.
Wow.
As well. My initial plan was to do my master's degree in Ireland. It ended up not happening due to the crisis in 2008. And then after a few years, I ended up coming back to Brazil. But actually, before I came back to Brazil, I tried living in Czech Republic.
Wow.
For a while. Yeah, it didn't quite work. And then I got home, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. So, and you have let me go back. We'll come back to that. And you had mentioned, we had spoke earlier. By the way, everybody, I'm taking a POC course, and Deborah is one of our teachers in a department. You cover a vast range of the tenets of the VenusProject.com resource-based content, what it is, how it works, how your values be ready for it. And Deborah's a teacher, and we're going through, and I had learned earlier that you had there was something called DACLA. And what was DACLA? That was here most of your life, and also let them know that you have been environmentally and human concern involved most of your entire life. And so what was DACLA?
Yeah, it is true. That is one of the reasons why I also studied political sciences and international relations, exactly because this social understanding, the political understanding, the economically understanding is crucial for us to find a path for us today. Everything is just so confusing, and the world is so polarized that we need that understanding in order to to make better choices, But talking about DACLA research, it is a research group in what we call parallel sciences. We study things that traditional science doesn't. And it is interesting, but I cannot reveal many things right now.
Sure.
That's what I can tell for the moment. It is a closed group, and we've been working on future possibilities as well.
Wow.
But that's what I can tell for now.
Sure. And you have a degree. You have many different proclamations that are given and earned. Can you tell us a little bit? Because all of these things have helped you, have they not, in your ability and even your job? We could tell us about your job that helps people to become fluent in speaking, and all of this information, it seems that it's empowered you tremendously in the Venus Project's efforts.
My idea is to bring what I can collaborate best in TVP. In my life, I had to be independent. I had to become independent and learn how to do things very often on my own. Of course, I had great people supporting me. I have a wonderful family, great friends as well. But very often I had to do things on my own and figure out things on my own. And then when we talk about TVP, and I mean the TVP support, not the TVP organization.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about the activists, the POCs, we are not talking about a traditional activist organization such as WWF or the Greenpeace.
Right.
These companies, these organizations started with a plan. They started paying people and with very clear objectives and goals. And, we are different from that. I mean, we have goals and we have objectives, of course, but we are volunteers.
All right.
We're not professionals. We're not being paid. We are ordinary people trying to make the most with what we have, investing very often the little free time we have to make something happen. And in my case, for example, I don't care if one day I will or not see a RBE. What matters to me is the fact that I collaborated for that to happen one day. I want to be part of the change, even if I don't get to see it. Sure. And that is one thing that we have among many of the POCs. So because I work with training professionally, I thought it could help POCs and candidates to best achieve their goals as POCs. Nobody would like to be a POC, for example, and then not do anything. As time goes by, they feel frustrated or they feel useless, or they don't feel that their ideas in the beginning has been accomplished. And that is one of the things I tried to cover nowadays, to support POCs in a way that they can feel, okay, yeah, I'm an activist, I'm a supporter, and I am really doing something positive.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The training program, which you are in right now, we are taking the event workshop. There are more things to come. Public speaking, how to build teams, for example.
Yes.
We are implementing things as they seem to be necessary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's these things that I'd like others to be aware of. A lot of times, for some of us that are activists out in the field, that means that we're out in the streets, wherever we go, wherever we are, to everyone, we try to interact. And sometimes we just feel like we're alone. we're not in touch. We don't really know the whole organization because there's so much going on. And there is a tremendous amount going on. There have been incredible strides, and part of that are due to your efforts of training trainers to go out into the world as peacemakers, as going out into the world as problem solvers and a direction to help save the humankind species. And so I just very thankful. I love your training. You make it real fun. I enjoy it, and it's challenging. A lot of people don't know taking a POC it takes us, you have to apply yourself, and you just learn so much and all of that. And I really appreciate your help. And of course, we encourage everyone as activists. Part of the problem is that people are out there who, have good intentions and think they know a lot of the tenets, but often are saying their own projections. And why we think it's important that you take the POC, that you become very grounded and fluent in the actual tenets that we have established, because they do exist. And a lot of people, for me, for a lot of us, it's our first time getting to meet you, and to learn, about all the background that you have, which are credentials. A lot of people and organizations would like to have some credibility behind people, which you have. What do you have? A degree? You have a degree, and then also a BA or a master's in.
Yeah, a degree in social communications and a master's in political sciences and international relations.
Wow. And that, that helps all of us to know that people of very high profile accomplishments are behind this, that again helps to how would Jock say it? Reinforce us. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about marketing. Any organization that's successful, it's not some hodgepodge, by the seat of your pants. That there is an effort and a very coordinated, which you help. It's constantly evolving, and so we have a marketing department, and you and your team would like to talk about the Brazilian team because they kick ass. They are an absolutely very powerful group, and so let's talk a little bit about marketing, what that means, what it does, and maybe how it's applied. Because some of the people I've talked to, you've helped them. They needed, as an example, I did a wonderful interview with Lankish, and he collaborated with you. You were there to assist him. We have specific tools and materials for POCs, those people who are educated and grounded in the tenets of the Venus Project resource-based economy. So when Lankish was able to contact you and you helped him, and he went out and did it, man, it was very cool. So tell us about the efforts of you and marketing, and where it is, where it goes.
Well, I think there is on progress thing that has to become much bigger than what we have nowadays. But part of what we have at the moment it is related to events. It started when the first round of event workshop happened among the POCs only. That was last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And then we didn't have a promotional material to show people. For example, we didn't have business cards, for example. Here is one that I have here.
Out of sight.
We didn't have a folder to show people.
Beautiful.
This one's Portuguese.
Very cool.
Portuguese. And then it was necessary to develop material. And if we had that here in Brazil, we had all that, but we didn't have it to offer to POCs. We didn't have a whole set of materials that would suit different purposes. And that is what I developed.
Wow.
I worked with a Brazilian designer who is in our team here. I coordinate 3 different teams here in Brazil: events, promotion, and design. So one of the designers helped developing a set of different materials depending on the needs of the POCs. Roxanne approved this material, and now everything is available for POCs to promote their work, to promote the organization. It is very important that first we help each other. Second, we have a unique image, you know?
Yes.
If people start making different materials, we're not going to have a personality. We're not going to be recognized. Coca-Cola uses the same image everywhere. Any other company does that, you know?
Branding.
So we needed that branding. That is one of the things I tried to achieve when I developed the material. The material we had here in Brazil was a lot simpler, and it did not speak globally. But this new set of materials has this global appeal.
Wow.
And this is not done yet. There is more to do. And I think as we grow, then we're going to have a proper marketing department linked with events, linked with the social media, you know?
Yes.
We are growing according to our needs, on my personal view. So far, that's what we need. But pretty soon, we're going to need a bunch more things.
And there's more unification. It seems like the media team, and we'll get into that, a little more unification where it's the collaboration is much easier and more effective. And so the things that there was different things you did, which were events, which we're going into, is speaking and conducting lectures, and we know that when there is an event, that means a big draw. That means a lot of people, and how we can piggyback upon some of those events and interject our direction and design. So I mean, that's a tremendous amount of going back and forth, authorization, credibility, making sure it's within attendance, and that must have taken quite some time. And now everything is designed for a global approach, regardless of what country and languages. Here again is a whole different deal, that everything has to go through linguistics, which we have a linguistics team, and linguistic. They go, it's not linguistics, Lukey, it's linguistic. And so, you know, it's this great effort that people are not aware of, and that people have the ability to join and participate in, even marketing. Would you like to tell us a little more about marketing, about if there's opportunities or the direction, some of the things you've accomplished? We've learned about the design elements and the brochures, the actual marketing image that's, you know, universal. It's a brand, doesn't deviate. I mean, when you see, you know, Pancake House in one part of the state, the other Pancake House is going to be exactly like that, shared experience. So tell us a little more about marketing.
Well, part of the branding, let's put it this way, came ready because we had logos already prepared. We had Jacques designs, which give a good idea of what type of aesthetics we're going to use. So what I did, along with Carlos, who was the designer who helped putting it together, was putting all these elements together. Back then, one of the inspirations that we used was the TVP magazine as well.
Dig that.
And another thing that we took into consideration is the work done by social media. If you get the viral images and the memes, they all have an identity. So we tried to use that into making something that people can recognize. You know,
Yes.
It's not like we created anything. We put together what is already available because we want people to be able to recognize it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know? And the work done so far is great.
Yes.
Well, you know?
Yes,
We have a good designers working in the social media. Whoever designed the logo, for example, did a great job. All we did was to put these pieces together.
like Jacques says, invention, taking known elements.
Yeah, exactly. We don't really invent anything, and we don't.
But yeah, your design elements, the way a brochure flows, where your eye goes, we for those that have done some advertising, usually very deceptive
I,
in advertising most of the time.
I'm not a specialist
Hmm.
in this field, but in communication, one of the things we study is aesthetics and semiotics, which is very important.
Mm.
I happen to be a photographer in my spare time. So my skills as an independent photographer, an amateur photographer, I always take into consideration whenever I'm preparing any piece or giving the briefing to the designer.
Mm-hmm.
If you are briefing the designer, you kind of need to see something already. These are the skills I learned in life, because I studied this, because I did that, but I'm not going to claim to be a specialist in the future when we have a proper marketing department. I don't think I will be coordinating this team. Probably not probably, for sure, there are people more competent than me to do that. But I am glad to start something.
Yes.
Well,
I just, as an example, in order to conduct events, you have established a step-by-step, and I mean it covers the gamut. It's very well done. It's very detailed. What's safe for people? Is there wheelchair access? What group are you talking to? I mean, if these are people, if it's the women's club, then it's a general, but if it's a science approach, all of those are relevant, and you've got it established so well. It's very detailed, and it's very empowering. And so it's really great what is available and established now.
Yeah, thank you. But once again, what I did was put things that I had to do in my professional life together. When I was in college, I worked in a radio station, and then,
Cool.
later I ended up getting one of these gigs that involved events. When I lived in Dublin, I worked for the French government tourist office as an assistant marketing, working non-events as well. These steps that I put together are key steps that I did here in Brazil, in Ireland, that I saw people doing in the States. One thing that I like to do as well is videos. When I was in the States, I worked as a video producer on spare time as well, and making videos. And then we also had to, get people together. Mm-hmm. So these things that I did in life, I put them together. What do you need to reach that goal? What are the key steps? Yes. And then at least this is the beginning for POCs who are not professional to get started and fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The word you use to be empowered is very important.
Yes.
Because if you are a professional, okay, probably someone who works in events would look at my workshop and say, yeah, this is silly. Well, this is for someone who has experience. For someone who doesn't, we have the cases of POCs who are engineers or who are extremely shy, and they wouldn't know how to start because their reality, their environment is completely different from what it requires. And it's not that it requires amazing thoughts and, we're not reinventing the wheel or anything, but we're giving key steps to literally empower POCs to achieve more. When a person goes through this whole program to become a POC, and then they become a POC after months of studying and attending hangouts, blah, 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 and then they become a POC and they cannot get stuff done. That is extremely frustrating.
Sure.
You know?
Of course.
And part of the admin's job, and now I'm going to speak from my point of view, is to offer this support for POCs to actually develop what they wanted to do from start, even before they became POCs, you know?
Yes.
And hopefully we'll be able to expand it and improve it. I know that there is a lot to be done. We are evolving with time.
Sure.
The organization is growing. Every day we have something else to think about. And time is short, and we're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have all the answers, but we're trying.
Yes, no, I like that having the tools that empower us is essential. Having the understandings and the training is essential. How long have you been with the Venus Project? Because you've gotten so much done, and it takes time to accomplish and refine and add, subtract, deviate, all of those things with materials through evolution. How long have you been doing this?
It's over 3 years.
You wonder if you sleep.
Over 3 years. Well, I do sometimes.
Not much.
It is important in my age, I never skip sleep.
Yes, no. What does Jock talk about? Sleep deprivation. Well, you've really, utilized your skills and have contributed so much, which is what all of us activists want to do. And you have tools, we have training, and we invite everyone that you're always there and that you help so many people, so many POCs. I wanted to talk a little bit about, we'd like to provide some links. Where can people become involved? Is there opportunity for people to become involved? Do you need assistance? Are there different departments within the marketing?
Well, for now, if we have outsiders, people who are not POCs, they can contact us using the main email, which is admin@tvpsupport.com. And then we would talk from there. POCs would get in touch with us directly. I am very open to build a team and get all the help I need to expand, because unfortunately I wish I could get more things done, and time is limited. If we look back and making this retrospective, a lot has happened, but we still need to do a lot more.
Yes.
And if other teams want to collaborate, I'm open to talk to anyone. And let's see how it goes.
Sure, and encourage and provide where they have deficiencies to help reinforce it and strengthen it. All of these established materials for both, whether you're outsiders just out on your own to do what you can do to help support and deliver the message. There are materials, and then there are a whole set of materials specific for POCs and their organizations. POCs would normally develop their teams, and then those teams go out to develop their, and they all collaborate on events that reach a lot of people in their town. So you've established so much, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. What about, can people assist? I would think that, when it would come to languages, that would go to the LTI, the linguistic team. Do you need any help in any specific divisions or departments of the marketing?
Well, for now, the answer would be no, but it's probably a matter of time. Of course, that the more we have people involved, the better it is. But as we talked about before, the way we grow is not the way any other organization would grow, because it involves a lot of understanding. So maybe it would be hard for people who are not supporters or who
Right.
are not involved in the teams already to understand how we want to accomplish things, you know?
Yes, dig that.
I don't mean it, I don't mean in, to discourage anyone who would be interested.
Right.
Just get in touch with us. But we don't really work like any other organization.
Right.
Let's
Right.
put it this way.
Right. It's nonprofit, no profit.
Exactly.
If some lady has some great merchandising effort, she doesn't know anything, she wants to contribute, but the background is deceptive. How to get money from people. Advertising is designed on how to get money from people, how to them to part with their money so you can get it. So a lot of it's deceptive, and it's inapplicable for the efforts in marketing that we have for a resource-based economy. So I understand that. But like you said, if they have something and they're qualified, they have, and want to contribute their knowledge, work with you, and first off, the better understanding you have of the tenets and what a resource-based economy is in the organization, the more apt you are at being effectual and powerful and realizing all the potential that exists around us. So, yeah.
Can I add something to what you said before?
Yes.
When we talk about marketing, what people want is money.
Yes.
And we work with two different products, awareness and education. Everything seems to be a bit different when you work with these goals in mind, with a different product in mind, when you don't want anything back from people, but to give people something,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So awareness and education.
I'm totally with you and totally agree. And that's outside. It's outside the normal genre. It's usually what's in it for me. I got the best house for you. I just salesman. So yeah, no, and I deeply appreciate it. I really thank you, Deborah, for all that you've done.
Is it over?
Well, we're going on 10. That's an hour, and people get weird.
Wow, time flies.
No, it does. And I would like to be able to, a little bit later, have another interview with you. You can let us know the latest developments. And I want to learn more. Everyone wants to learn more about the Brazilian team. They have done so many cool things. And to me, pretty high profile, beautiful looking things, excellent presentation, fantastic ambassadorship. It gives a real image that emanates our efforts very well. When you have those tools, it just makes such a difference in the perception that the average public gets. And we need that. And that's what it's all about. And so next time, let's get into, and discover more about Carlos and all the people you've worked with, and to know and to introduce you to everyone who watches this, that people, men and women all over this world, just like you and me, have given so much. Anyone can do it, and everyone is invited. Tremendous strides. One of them was to introduce and let people know how much is being done. That things are big time, man. Really, really moving. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, the greatest thing of being involved with TVP is that I get a lot more than I give. And when you say, oh, the Brazilian team is super, it is so much fun. And then when I look back, oh, over 3 years already. It's like it's very important to have this global community feeling, because in the capitalism we are very isolated. But when you get people who may have differences from you, but you have the same goal, things become so much easier to get done. And if we're talking about the Brazilian team, I am extremely lucky to have the POCs I have by my side, because I would not be able to accomplish anything without Lucas, Guilherme. We work very well together. And literally, I get a lot more than I've been giving, because I have all the support. It's great.
Excellent. Yes, yes, yes. You get out of it what you put into it. It's an old adage. And so as we put more into our training, that can become manifest around us. And we can all have teams and all be, there's millions of people desperate to find out about what we have to offer. And we can become united and stronger, like you said. Individually, is never the greatest, the synergistic effort, much more powerful than the individual sums alone. And so we're going to have to cut it. I don't want to. And I just love you. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I love the training. It's difficult, but it's very rewarding. Like you said, you get a great sense of receiving more when you see that your life has such great purpose. And when you reach someone, that's the thrill, because it's helping us all. I sure thank you, Deborah. And in the description, we'll have links. We'll have links to the Facebook page for the Brazilian team. You can go back and see some of the fantastic efforts, those individuals that are involved, that comprise and make up what the Brazilian team is. Men and women just like you and me. And youngsters. You guys have had a lot of youth participation, which is far out. And so I thank you. We're going to come to a close. Look for the links. Are they able to be your friend? Do you have a personal page? Or, sometimes that can be overwhelming. Some do, some don't. So for those that want to be your friend, can they?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
if we want to build a global community, of course we can.
I'm with
But
you all the way.
here is one thing about my Facebook page. Most of my posts are in Portuguese.
Yeah.
So
Sure. But there's always translation within it. If they see something that interests them and you've got a ton of cool shit, it's very cool. What you do is really fantastic. I admire and wish I could be as powerful, and you motivate me to want to do more. And you also make me realize what we do is important, and there's some self-reinforcement in that too. I sure thank you.
my pleasure. I look forward to parts 2 and talk about the Brazilian team and other things,
Yes, totally.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here talking a little about myself, which is something I've never given an interview about me before, so that was new. It's a very interesting experience. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Yeah.
This will wrap up this edition of the Activism Insights, and we'll have all of those links. Encourage you to look, encourage everyone to begin training when they're able for the POC training, as well as the socio-cyberneering educational courses is also wonderful. So thank you, Deborah.
My pleasure.
Bye, everybody. For more information on the venusproject.com resource-based economy, log on to the venusproject.com website or check out the venusproject.com YouTube channels and Facebook pages.
The best that money can't buy is a challenge to all people to work towards a society where all the world's resources become the common heritage of Earth's people. It has 70 color photos of Fresco's original designs which illuminate the fulfilling lifestyle of a global resource-based economy. It is available in paperback, ebook, iTunes, and Kindle. Pick up your copy today at thevenusproject.com.